His mother is somebody that her husband was a previous prime minister of this country. He was a statesman. All you can say all they want,
Oh
right? He
yeah,
was
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with that. I agree.
he was like Rowley and them fellas who's a talker kind of he was
Not
a
at
statesman,
all.
Yeah,
Yes, he
right?
yeah.
was.
I have respect
Yeah.
He's cut from a different cloth.
for
Yeah.
this man
Yes.
Pandey and them fellas. There was a different, when you fellas you go there and you have a conversation and you listen how they speak. I'm not talking about on the political platform because they were in there, right? That's what they're
Yes.
supposed to do.
Yes. One on one, we
Outside,
talking about. Yes.
they're very respectable people. And we
Yes.
can't take that away from them, right? We don't know that. So she, as being his wife, and also being a minister, right? I think she was Minister of Education,
His
if my
mother,
memory serves.
right? His mother and Minister of
Yes,
Education, former.
and that means she
Mm-hmm.
have some level of experience. And then I would think when you remember what happened when PNM lost, well, not lost election, when Dr. Rowley and the late Patrick Manning was warring, there was so much of words, there's so much things. It was similar to what happened with Basdev Pandey and Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj, right? So you have these two
The macaron.
two powerful bulls in this thing, and they're fighting against each other. And Rowley have a way, he's talking a different way. You understand? He have a different kind of thing. He going down to the
Arrogant.
yeah.
Want to
He comes
fight.
across that way. I don't know him personally. I have never met him personally, but how he comes across very arrogant, and he don't give a rat's whatever about anybody else. That's how it's come across to me, right? And then when you listen to the comments that was made by the late Patrick Manning, he says he's a raging bull. So I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, right? Unless you can show otherwise. So, and then now, for the last election that they lost, PNM lost election, you put somebody that I never got a chance to vote for. You want to put
Yeah.
that man as the prime minister. I never got a chance to vote for you.
That was the
Or you
coffin
could
in
put
the
somebody,
that was the nail in the
you
coffin.
would tell me after 9 and something years, you in power, right? Suddenly, 1 month before, you decide, you know what, all I done. I done. And let me put he. Something was terribly wrong with that. It's just that
Bacchanal.
so much was going on with the election. People won't focus on that because it done there, right? But the point is, it would have had some confusion that going on in the PNM because of that move. I would think so. So you had two things that happened. During Patrick Manning's regime, Rowley interjected there. That brought down the Manning administration. Then all of a sudden, now it come back again, right? You had a little issue there. You have Rowley resigning, putting somebody else. That brought down the PNM again, right? I don't know if you see any kind of similarity. You could think whatever you want with it, but it's there in front of you to look at, right? And then all of a sudden now you put in somebody who I don't know him. He have not been a long enough in politics to say that he is given that opportunity to become the next prime minister. You understand? And give we the people a chance to vote for that. You understand? Then after election, he let go of his position and sit down in the back seat. There's so much things wrong with that. And if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, what it gonna be?
A doc? Exactly. It's going to be just that. But in that, I want to go back to where you talk about his Brian's mother being the before her that's a common being the chairman of the constituency executive. There must be accountability, there must be transparency, and there must be a no conflict of interest. That I hear you. You want somebody you could trust, and you could do that. This is Basde Pandit really said politics has a morality of its own, and you always have to repeat it because you see it clearly. The thing is, when these people, human beings, get into position, let us be humble before it, even when they're in opposition. As you get into power, it is run up to the brain, to the head, like they just get power stroke, power, and I don't know. And then they just start acting different, they start doing things different. They just forget the people who put them there. And this is why Stuart Young and them was so confident that they were going to win this general election in 2025 amidst all that they were doing the people, but they were disconnected to the people on the ground. And I really don't want that happening with our government now. My prime minister must get information, because what happens, I believe, is that the ministers who do not go in their constituency and meet with their people do not know what is happening on the ground to report to their leaders, or they just don't care. And that must change. Hadassah.
Oh wow, so much to take in. Okay, so I sent the producer a picture of a recent PNM meeting. Can I get that picture, please, Madam Producer?
Madam Producer, I think she's going to get it up for you. You can go ahead and talk while she's getting it.
Yeah. So lest
She
we
said she sent it.
forget, yeah, lest we forget what the whole point of this conversation is. We started talking about the CPAP and the URP workers who were displaced. And I agree with Indar when he says that and we have to be very careful, like Esther said, that the tide could change so quickly. We have to be so careful that this does not become us in a couple years. And Indar said it, that everything that the PNM was doing for the last 10 years, people were still suffering, right? And it has fallen the duty and the task of the Kamala Prasad Bisasa administration to turn that ship around. And the reason why we won that election is because a lot of people who were tired of the lies, the abuse, the blatant abuse of the public purse, seeing certain people getting rich and the money never trickling down, right? And we know how URP and CPEP workers were abused, politically abused, always being threatened within an inch of their life for the little job that they have, and then they have to walk and they had to canvas and they had to wear red jersey when elections come around and whatnot, or else they find themselves out of a job. In any country, there are always more ordinary people, poor people, simple people, and this is how elections are won. Kamala Prasad Bisasa won the last election because people who usually would support the PNM voted for the UNC, or people who voted for PNM decided to sit it out. So we have to be careful lest we become arrogant and detached and whatnot, that we make sure that the promises that were made to certain individuals, that the promises that were made in terms of jobs, in terms of everybody winning, when UNC win, everybody win, that is met and it is fulfilled in a tangible way. In a tangible way. Um, Government come, government go, parties come, parties go. There will always be government political infighting. I would say the PNM used to be much better at keeping things contained, but it is so bad now that it is spilling out onto the pavements. It is spilling out for everybody to see. And I am not always so moved by things because Brian Manning sat down for 10 years under Keith Rowley, that horrible, odious man, and said nothing. He said nothing and he did nothing, and he seemed to be quite content there. He called for his mom. They're trying to bring out the big guns, whatever it is. But like Esther said, there's always a process to get into these executive positions within parties. You still have to be elected, right? It still has to be a majority. There still has to be democracy that is playing out. And that is not happening. So there cannot be a complete abandonment of the way things are supposed to be because we are in desperate times. But I say all of that to say that we have to remember that we won the election because simple people, poor people, ordinary people decided to vote for the UNC. And we have to, I could understand wanting to get rid of corruption, but we also have to make it a priority to get those people who were employed for many years under these programs into jobs again. It should have been that those who were there should have been the first names to get back jobs and whatnot. Once it was found that they were not involved in any illicit behavior or getting any kickbacks and things like that. That should have been the priority. So with Esther, I am calling upon the Prime Minister and whoever else is responsible, Khadija Amin and whatnot, to make sure that while we are saying that we are wiping out corruption, which is very important, that we are not wiping out the livelihoods of people who actually depend on these jobs. That is my piece for now.
Definitely, definitely indeed. And while the PNM fighting and having their fights, and this has been going on for a long time, I just bring it up because Penny and they just get on as though they have no issue, they're good, they have unity. It's
She wasn't
only
even in that meeting.
no,
She was nowhere to
but
be found.
listen, she talking, she's every time she's called on where's Kamala, where's the Prime Minister? You're not here, but where she is now, she's the leader
Where
of the opposition. She should be there. Where is she? All right,
where
she's
was she?
nowhere to be found. Right, so you say do so doesn't like so, but we have it coming for them. We're going to talk more about that because I am concerned about what my government is doing now and want to share. But before I go
Yes.
into that, I want to just shift our topic that came to light to me with the OWTU and UTT. Now, I like to be fair, and we call this program Real Talk because we want to be real and fair. And I want to strongly condemn the manner in which the OWTU has personalized what should be a legitimate industrial relations matter at UTT. The union has every right. Listen, the union have every right to negotiate for workers. That is the modus operandi. Demand better salaries and challenge management. But attacking Professor Selwyn Kojo personally ridiculed. I mean, they ridiculed this man, his books, and making inflammatory comparison about his remuneration is unacceptable. Who the hell is them to talk them foolishness? To compare the salary of an executive chairman with that of a worker earning approximately about 4,000 plus per month
Yes.
is simply ludicrous. These are not
Yeah.
comparable positions. Qualifications, experience, level of responsibility, and the demands of the office all matter when remuneration is determined. So Professor Kojo listen, they know anything about this man called Professor Kojo? He is an internationally recognized scholar with decades of academic experience. His books and scholarship should not be used as weapon against him simply because there is a wage dispute. And let us
Yeah.
remember something. The outstanding salary issues at UTT existed long before
On the
Professor
PNM.
Kojo became
Yes.
executive chairman. OWTU itself, they protested these matters under the previous administration. He inherited the problem. The board inherited the problem. He did not create it. So if the OWTU is claiming that Professor Kojo receives more than 100,000 per month, first, then produce the official documentation. If there is evidence of wrongdoing by Professor Kojo, misuse of funds or conflict of interest, produce that evidence. But to do, but to not use unverified figures, personal attacks and ridicule to damage the man's reputation. What is wrong with these people? Is it that the African people really don't like the African people at all? That anything they can do to bring you down, they're going to do it? Workers deserve fair treatment. We must agree. They deserve fair negotiation. Professor Kojo also deserves fairness. And in my view, he should seek legal advice concerning statements that he believes have damaged his reputation. Because as for me, I believe they have been damaging the man's reputation with those foolish talk and take whatever lawful action his attorney advised. My message to the OWTU is simple, fight for the workers. That is what you all have to do. Negotiate hard. Demand accountability, yes. But stop the personal attack. Stop weaponizing salary comparisons and stop trying to make Professor Selwyn Kojo the scapegoat for all your problems that he inherited and is working hard day after day. Just last month in the board meeting, it was spoken about. All right? It was spoken about. We are concerned about every employee. But for them to get up and say something like that, I am very disturbed on the matter because that's not the way for us to go. So I don't know if you all have anything you want to weigh in on that, or we're just going to move on. But
I'm just
if
gonna
you all have
ask you,
anything to say, go ahead.
and that question is, why in the first place are they attacking Professor Cujo? Because at the end of the day, Professor Cujo's position, he doesn't run the day-to-day operations of UTT. That's the thing. Why are they attacking this people? Is it because
Envy and jealousy.
it is
Nasty
what it is?
people. Wicked.
Okay, okay, take it easy. Yeah, drink some water. Yeah.
I had to do that to cool me down, or else I would start.
All
Else
right.
I
So
would start.
I don't think it's fair that they will attack Professor Cujo. At the end of the day, I've seen the work that this man has done. I've been following his career from a very, very long time ago when I started radio at the age of 18 years, which is maybe about 5 years ago. Anyhow, so after seeing his work that he has done, and now I've gotten the opportunity to be alongside him, and I will tell you, this man goes out of his way to be fair
Mm-hmm.
to everybody. He goes out of his way, right? He is a person, I believe, he looks at things very carefully. Before he answers, he goes through, he does his research, then he comes to you. So I believe very, very soon we will be hearing from Professor Cujo. I'm sure of it.
Definitely. Sure. Hadassah, you want to weigh in on anything, or we move on?
You mute. Adasa,
You're
you mute.
muted.
Sorry about that. I'm not very familiar with the entire case. I didn't get to read up on all of it, so I try not to
Right.
comment on things that I don't know about. But what I would
Great.
say is that it seems as though that anybody appointed by the UNC seems to be a easy target, and I feel like that is also part of the issue. So I look to see what he will do and what he would say. I would always go back to everybody is so vocal now. Like Esther said last week, everybody has found their voice. Everybody protesting about salaries and wages and whatnot for conditions and situations that existed way before the UNC took office in May of 2025, and it is not fair. But I would always say that it's coming to the fore now so that it could be dealt with. And I always say that people will quarrel and fight and whatnot because they actually know that they will get some type of response. Just like all the upheaval that took place in Wassa last week, and Barry Padarat has already answered the call and rose to the occasion because that is the administration that we are under. One that is responsive. So let us hope that that is the same type of response that we will get where the CPAP and the ERP displaced workers are concerned. That's it for me.
Definitely. And the truth is, Hadassah, you said it correct. The UNC government is always one that responds to the need of the people. And even with the CPEP and URP and forestry and all of that, whilst people are complaining, and I don't want to use the word complaining, they're feeling the brunt of not having a job. Remember, these people on the ground, they depend on these, small money. And I understand that the Prime Minister wants, together with her ministers, want to give people a more substantial employment that they can do something better. But like I said, and I'm going to say again eventually, that whilst that is being put in place, there must be something for the people to have food to eat, to put food for their children. You know what it is to have children, don't have food on the table for them. The men going and stealing. And I'm hearing what they're saying. They're so frustrated that if they get killed, they get killed, but they can't stay in the house and listen to their children crying, the woman or the wife complaining and making all kind, go and get something. They can't get a good job and they have rent to pay and they have this to do and they're not getting a job. So they're going out there, if they have to thief and if they get killed, well, so be it. They won't hear nothing. I am actually hearing people saying these things and I try to motivate them. I try to tell them, well, even though it's that tough, have faith in God, go out there and trust and something is going to happen. But not everybody is going to have that level of faith. So we're going to talk about that. But I want to say that a lot happens, and the UNC is always one to respond. They're very responsive. Last week, like you said, Minister Padarat, he responded, and so is every minister try to do it. But the reason that has to happen is because when UNC comes into power, we never get a chance to do anything. And after the 5 years, when you put certain things in place, what they do, they go back and do. They go and they bring back the PNM to run the place down again. And when all you get vexed, all you come back and vote for UNC to fix all your problem. UNC is not just a fix it all party. Yes, we can, but give us the opportunity after we have fixed it to stay there and to enhance what was fixed so that you all can have a better lifestyle. They don't do that, right? And if they want to be real, they should think about it. But let's go on, because there are developments in this country taking place that we all need to know about. We spoke about some last year. I want to talk about investor confidence this week, right? The sovereign bond. On July 9, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago issued a US 800 million sovereign bond in the United States market. According to the Ministry of Finance, it was oversubscribed by approximately 400%, the highest level of oversubscription for a Trinidad and Tobago benchmark size international bond since 2013. And these are the things some people may not even understand. But this is development and this is good. People understand what that means. International investors are making decisions with money. They are examining the risk. Before, you wasn't hearing that. They examine the country's ability to repay. How is that happening? They examine stability, because under our prime minister, the country is starting to stabilize. They examine the policies, and I keep saying that. People just want to know what is the difference. UNC policy is always different. It's for the man on the ground. It's for fairness. I am never going to say that no party is perfect and leadership is perfect. You'll always have people who have things they want to give to their family, but there's a level of fairness that happens when the UNC and policy that comes into play that makes investors want to come into our country and invest. So when demand for an international bond substantially exceeds the amount being offered, that is evidence of significant market appetite. That is not a UNC party group WhatsApp message. That is international capital speaking, right? So, for instance, you have S&P reaffirm investment grade. Then on July 22nd, the Ministry of Finance announced that S&P reaffirm, right? It's not me saying this. It's in the books. Trinidad and Tobago investment grade rating. Earlier, Moody's had revised its outlook, right, on Trinidad and Tobago from negative to stable while maintaining its rating. So when somebody tells you nothing positive is happening in our country under our government now, ask them whether international credit markets are also UNC. You understand? These people are seeing the benefit now. Ask them whether S&P is UNC. Ask them if Moody is UNC. I don't believe that. They are independent. These are external institutions making their own assessment. So another issue people like to throw around is we go into the IMF. I was saying that recently, yeah? And let us be precise. Trinidad and Tobago engages with the IMF through normal surveillance and article consultation, as countries routinely does. And I think I heard, I think I had it in a note that the IMF is building a headquarters in Trinidad and Tobago, right? That is not the same thing as entering an IMF bailout program. Pardon me? I'm not hearing just now.
Sorry, I said I think it's the World Bank.
It's the World Bank, right? It's the World Bank. In February, however, in February 2026, the Ministry of Finance reported that IMF staff acknowledged progress in areas including public financial management, financial sector regulations, economic diversification, and digital transformation. So let us not be confused. Talking with the IMF, with borrowing under an IMF adjustment program, those are two completely different things. When the PNM borrowed money from the IMF years ago, I think it was under Manning, that is when you had to lay off a set of employees. They just wanted to have a certain amount of people working. They just want to control your country. That is not what the UNC is doing right now, right? Take, for instance, Point Lisas. And now this is very significant. A plant that had been dormant, which is an industrial comeback, for approximately a decade is being brought back into productive activity. Think about it, people. The former Asola metal operation at Point Lisas is being revitalized through Ibis Steel, backed by US-based Pinnacle Steel and Vanadium Corporation. They announced the initial investment is approximately 250 US million dollars.
Yeah.
The company has indicated plans for around 350 jobs during refurbishment and approximately 500 permanent jobs. Come on, we wasn't getting that the last decade, with the possibility of a future expansion, bringing total investment towards 750 million US
750.
and employment
Yeah.
potentially around
A
reaching around
thousand.
1,000 persons. These are the things that
Yeah.
we need to talk about. These are the things that people need to be aware and stop the propaganda foolishness with the PNM. Stop listening to them. Listen to what is really taking place in our country. Production is targeted for the end of 2027. By the end of 2027, things is going to be happening in a better way. Remember, the UNC government meet this place in a gutter, right? Now tell me, is that nothing that is taking place? A dormant industrial facility returning? Come
Yeah.
on, capital investment, employment, foreign exchange potential. Then we have Point of Pierre with Petrotrain. That is about to begin as well. And these things are being pushed at the back for the opposition. They don't want to talk about it and don't believe that they don't know, but they don't want the people to know foreign exchange, industrial diversification, and possible participation in the vanadium industry. All you need to hear and listen
Vanadium.
and learn. Those are the types of projects Trinidad and Tobago needs. Three major US linked commercial initiatives. During the August visit of United States Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Orlando, three major commercial initiatives were highlighted. Curlew Mainstream proposed fuel storage and bunkering terminal at Point Lisas. Point Lisas had been a dead place over the last 3 years. Now you're going to see it back bright and hiring
Back
people.
to life.
Pinnacle
Yeah.
Steel and Vanadium Corporation restoration of the steel facility. NGC and BP arrangements connected to the Mannequin Kukunia gas field. Come on, things are happening. So I understand when the CPEP workers and the URP and these people who don't really understand what we're talking about and really want to hear, because all they really want, those are the people on the ground. They want to know that they could get a change and put food on the table for their children. So I really want our Prime Minister to know this. United States Department itself said Lando's visit was intended to strengthen cooperation involving energy security and economic cooperation. These things matter, people. NGC and BP, these things matter. On August 11, they announced that it had entered agreements with BPTT to acquire a 20% participating interest in Block 5B, which contains the Mannequin field. Energy security remains one of the biggest economic questions facing Trinidad and Tobago. So strategic arrangements designed to improve future gas availability matter to manufacturing, petrochemicals, LNG, foreign exchange, jobs, and government revenue. And don't forget ExxonMobil, and the deep water opportunity. All those things, don't overlook that. These things are there and they're preparing. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while for these things to come on board. Remember, the PNM destroyed everything. So
Yeah.
whilst they ring off my phone sometimes, message upon message is like crazy. We need to be sensible. We would suffer for a little bit, but I'm still asking that the ministers on the ground, please look after our people who are really suffering, mothers with children. We talk about the book grant, not let me put a pin here. You know that even though we have book grants given out and all these different things, you know what I've been hearing? It is that the PNM people are the ones who receiving these things. are not the supporters of the UNC. Now, mind you, PNM people are people too. They have children, they have to eat, they have to drink, they have to pay their bills. I am not against that, but they have been in power for a decade, and the UNC people was suffering. Now that the UNC people are UNC are in power, why the UNC people have to suffer too? Let the PNM suffer a little bit. I mean, I don't want nobody. I am certain that the Prime Minister don't want nobody to suffer. But we cannot be giving everything to them. We can't. Let's be real. I don't know. The bureaucracy is terrible in this country. The PNM, they're in all the ministries. They are the permanent secretaries, and they're undermining everything that the government is trying to do. Some of them, they're wicked to the core, you know. They don't like to hear me say that. But check all yourself. All your wicked down in all your soul because of what you all are doing. Don't you know when you support the government, everybody is going to win at the end of the day? But when you all are backstabbing and doing the wicked things that you all are doing to make the government look bad, everybody's suffering. And at the end of the day, they're pushing their people to get, and the UNC supporters are not getting. I am here to talk about the UNC supporters, not too much the PNM supporters. While they are citizens of this country and they need to be upkept as well, the UNC supporters have been suffering for a decade and more, and we need for them to be getting something. We can't have them working hard for us to win this election here now in power, and they still can't get nothing. The ball is to you, Hadassah, and Indar.
Well, one thing I can say is that regardless of who get PNM supporter, UNC supporter, there will be nobody on the UNC side calling them greedy. Remember when Donna Cox
Oh,
called
thank
people
you.
who had
Mm-hmm.
lost their jobs during COVID and they going to get a food hamper and she called them greedy?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
They need to remember those
that
things.
that would not be happening. I just wanted to add though, because I thought it was very important concerning ExxonMobil. It's not just that these people are here and showing interest and willing to do business with us, but it's also what they are saying. So, Kamala Pasabi Sessa met with ExxonMobil Trinidad and Tobago operations manager, Dr. Bram Williamson, about a week ago. And he said that this was the fastest ExxonMobil has ever been able to secure the approvals and complete the administrative procedures required to begin seismic activities in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And also, Esther mentioned Christopher Landau. He is the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State. When he was here for the reopening of the steel plant, he talked about the administration's willingness to create an environment that invites partnership. And I think he was alluding to the difficulty that they would have had before under Keith Rowley's administration. And he talked about the fact that um, relationships between the U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago at a historic high, and he said, as evidenced by energy development, strengthening critical material supply chains, combating drug cartels and transnational crime, and trade and investment. So that is not us saying that. That is not UNC saying that. This is not just a talking point. This is what people who want to invest in Trinidad and are doing business here, this is what they are saying now about their experience working with the United National Congress administration.
Yeah, Indar. Anything on
Right.
that?
So well, I assume that we will be getting into our closing statements at this point in time, taking into consideration the time.
No, I have a couple
Um,
more things. So we probably would run until 10, which is the normal thing. We try to do an hour, but I just have a few more things I want to talk about. But if you want to weigh in on what just said, you can
well,
go
of
ahead.
course, as you said, both of you, they have a lot of interest in investments here in Trinidad. And obviously, these things are going to have to be worked out. You don't just wake up one morning and say, well, we come down, we, we, we do a feasibility study, we realize that it can work. And then after we go back, we sign whatever documentation that has to be done. And then we start putting that into motion. It's going to take some time before we see the fruits of this the seeds or the fruits that we have to get after planting these seeds. And until that time, the thing about it, we have to have some level of understanding. Now let me tell you, the suffering that you're speaking about, it's across the board with a lot of people. It's as though we're in a little recession at this point in time, and it is obvious the reason why. Because you had a government previously that had their own policies, and these policies just didn't work. It just didn't work. And at some point in time, we know based on how it was being done, money was going to run out because
Yeah.
you have very major players in the country that is closing down, and forex shortage, so many different things. So the signs, the writing was on the wall. So now this government is making amends to those situations and trying to get investors to have faith in our country. We're still battling with crime and all these different things. And these things were left without any sort of progress in the last administration. So they're going to have to do a lot of work. And this amount of work, I guess we will see the fruits of that labor in maybe a year or probably even a little bit more based on how fast. We don't have control over these investors and how they spend their money and how they develop because obviously when you get into it, there are things that you're going to find and they're going to have problems with. It's not going to be a smooth sailing. I believe once they get in here, then they're going to see some things working better than they anticipate, and then there are some things that may not be working. And in that progress, these things will have to be worked out. So the unfortunate thing is being in the position that this UNC government is in at this current point in time is not an easy position because
No.
they're expected to do a lot more in a short space of time. It's unfair. It's very unfair, but it is what it is. But I just have to mention it because you have to be aware of it. Because some people,
Yeah.
as far as they're concerned, as long as I'm going through headache, I don't care about anybody else. That is the attitude. Because you see me, I catch it my and I don't care about nobody.
Yeah,
And that's
and that is so true, in there. It is so true. Some people, but then we have to have a balance. Think about when you're going through real situation. Oh gosh, when a hungry man is a hungry man. Let's forget the other niceties, but hunger is an angry man. So that, whilst I understand exactly what you're saying, we have to understand when people don't have food to eat, it's a whole different story. But I hear you talking about the investors, and this brings me to the Ministry of Planning, Economic Affairs and Development under Senator Dr. the Honorable Kennedy Sarat Singh. The ministry has been pushing several related priorities, and you talked about business, investors come in and the challenges some of them are going to face. And remember, these are not small investors; these are large investors talking about employing 500 plus up to 1,000 person and so on. And the policies that the PNM had has to be changed in order for them to be able to do what they have to do and be profitable, because nobody wants to invest and don't make a profit at the end of the day. So the ministry has been pushing several related priorities such as economic diversification, investment, facilitation, digital transformation, public sector investment, planning and improving the environment for doing business. So they're trying to make people doing business and investors to be much more affordable, much more easy. Minister Sarat Singh has specifically argued that the bureaucratic red tape costs Trinidad and Tobago billions in lost potential investment between 2021 and 2025. And that administration delays must be reduced if this country is going to compete effectively for international capital. And that's the fact. And this is something I strongly support because investors, they have choices, They don't have to come here.
Yeah.
An investor looking at Trinidad can also look at Guyana. They could look at Jamaica, Barbados. They could look at the Dominican Republic, Panama, Costa Rica. They don't have to come here. So we have to make it easier for them to do business. The PNM didn't understand that. But under this government, UNC government, this is what is taking place. And we have to support these initiatives. And we have to also know, because of all the red tape that they have to cut away and deal with and get the prime minister and the cabinet to agree upon certain things, it's going to take a little time. But I am confident and I have faith that things is going to change I don't think the end of 2027, at least after 2027, we should see things happening in a great way, in a smooth way, not only for the citizens, but for our investors. Because if we don't get investors to come here, you think we can pull ourselves off the ground? No, I don't think so. The ministry is also responsible for coordinating the sector investment program. I just want to read something here. With approximately 4.1 billion allocated in the 2026 PSIP towards programs and projects supporting national development. Minister Sarat Singh has also been engaging international development institutions to increase financing opportunities for private sector led diversification, including discussions with the World Bank Group. So there is substantial work happening behind the scenes, and that doesn't necessarily generate bacchanal headlines, you know. Those are hard. When these ministers are not sleeping in the night, it wouldn't make headline, you know. Ain't no bacchanal you're hearing with that. Those are the people who are working behind the scene together with our prime minister. This is why I keep telling Trinidad and Tobago and those of you who love her, pray for her day in and day out. We have to pray for her health, pray for the ability God has given her to be able to release to what has to happen. Give her the knowledge and the wisdom to diversify into areas that is going to be beneficial to Trinidad and Tobago. And I must say that she's an intelligent, bright woman. If you don't believe it, go and try and find and have a conversation with her, and it will be evident of how she thinks. Now, our prime minister have to talk. She have to hear what the people on the ground is saying when it comes to some of the issues, and that is a difficult one because I know she relays on the people, the ministers, the cabinet ministers, the MPs to meet with the people and to find out what they can do to make life easier for them. I don't know if all is doing it, but I know a lot is doing it. All right. But there are plenty mothers and women who are having a hard time. So let us be mindful of that. Right. So some genuine work they need to be doing on the side while they're trying to reform. They have to have something in place for these children and parents who are going through it. Yes, they have to wait. We know that they have to have patience. You may not be able to buy a new pair of shoes and you may not be able to buy all the fancy food. You forget PNM told them they wouldn't be able to eat macaroni pie and callaloo and all them kind of thing. Yeah. Well, we ain't even
And to
saying
get a
that.
cold
We
pot
just
and
saying
ride bike.
you understand? You just have to know what you have to do. Buy a 25 pound of flour and make roti and bake. Eat that with butter. Come on, we grew up on that and we didn't die. We didn't die. So stop complaining, stop murmuring, people. Let us work together. It is going to get better under our honorable Prime Minister and her team. I know it is going to get better. Right? So there are some
Um,
truths. I think the time is running away. So we need to leave this
yeah,
again for next week. We will have to continue. But we
of course.
really have to give kudos to the UNC government that is in place based on all the evidence of things that is being done. We have to give kudos to them. The PNM opposition could say whatever the hell they want to say. They could continue creating propaganda and misleading the people who wants to be misled by them, because we definitely are not stupid. We are not uneducated. We see what is happening. We see how the ministers of this government is working tirelessly. And just in case something didn't happen, as long as it comes to the forefront and the media takes it up, they run quickly to make adjustment and to bring relief to the people who are under the pressure. And if we can't see that, then the devil on top of our eyes.
I wanted to mention though
Mm-hmm.
that I heard Khadija Amin. She was on a radio show program just recently, and she was talking about what they actually did in disbanding CPEP and European. What she said is essentially they cut out the middleman, and that there were so many people and friends and financiers who were getting these big contracts worth millions of dollars, which meant that the actual workers, the people who were out there in the sun with the workers and whatnot, were only
Yeah.
getting $90 a day. She said in cutting out the middleman now and having these people employed directly with the corporation under the new cleanup program, they are now earning $200 a day, right? So
Yeah.
that is making a big difference. So while some people are feeling the pinch, and I do understand that, there are other people who are already benefiting from whatever the new program, whatever the new rollout is going to be, and what it's going to look like. And you can definitely eke out a life, eke out a living. You can have a life on $200 a day, right? Compared to $90 a day. And that is what she wanted to do, to give ordinary people, small people, an opportunity to have a better standard of living. So the hope is that the persons who were displaced would be pulled into that program as well, and that they could also enjoy that. I do believe that this would make a part of the budget conversations, and this would be a consideration as well. I really do want to believe that. And I'm really happy that they're having these conversations across the country so that everybody could actually go and have their say in terms of what they want to see, what they want to, what they would like the budget to look like in terms of how it affects their lives personally. So that was just something I wanted to add.
Yeah, definitely. I had that in my notes and I said I would leave it for next week. But what you just brought up there, Minister Amin herself publicly acknowledged those realities. She spoke in an interview in June of 2026, yeah, when she talked about the CPEP the opportunities, right? Even though they have closed off the CPEP and URP, she spoke about the mothers and breadwinners who had genuinely worked and who did not create the defective system around them, right? And that is significant because it means government really recognizes the human dimensions. A new national program she had put in place for the upkeep of public spaces was introduced on a pilot basis with stricter attendance, performance, and financial controls and so forth. My position tonight is we have to build on that. We have to strengthen it, really, massively expand legitimate employment opportunities, audit properly, register workers transparently, use electronics attendance, publish criteria, remove political gatekeepers, train the people,
Yeah,
and pay for actual work performed. And that is what they're trying to do.
yeah,
But my proposal still is, while we are doing that, something has to be happening because it takes a little while to get the people in, registered and all of that. For how long now? Instead of returning to the old CPEP model, establish a properly governed structure
yeah,
that is happening. But the people who are really going through it, we have to put something in place so that they can, like how the CPEP was, but make sure you have transparency, make sure it's the right people doing it, right? Because there are people who are really suffering. I must say hats off to Minister Amin and people like Minister Padarat and Minister John. Even I was looking at HDC stuff, Minister Alexander, Minister Roger Alexander. These people are working really hard, and the
yeah,
evidence is there. So when people want to talk the BS, the evidence is there of these people working. Mohit, Minister Mohit, all these people are doing a
yeah.
lot, all right, and there are many more, but we have to, telling people to have patience, like I said before, when they're hungry is a difficult
Hard.
thing to do, but they really
Yeah,
need to come out more and talk to the people, let the people know what is happening. And of course, I always give kudos to our leader, the political leader, our prime minister of this country, because the budget consultation is going on in every constituency right now, so that the people can go out. And in some cases, there's an overwhelming amount of people on attendance. There are some places where it's just there. But people, whether you're a supporter of the UNC, the PNM, whoever, this consultation is important for you to
important.
attend.
Let your
Let
voice
your
be
voice
heard.
be
Yeah,
heard, so we would know what is happening. And of course, Minister Surat Singh, who is the Minister of Planning and Economic Affairs, is actually attending most of these consultations to give highlights on what is happening and what is taking place. So let us not stay in the back in the darkness and listen to only what the PNM propaganding machine is using to make you all more depressed and to make you all more frustrated. Go out there, and when you meet with your MPs, tell them your situation as well. They will be able to, try and organize hampers or organize something for you all. But don't just sit down. Don't be sending messages on my phone and other people's phone, as though we are gods. We are not gods. We are in the image, we perform in the image and likeness of him, but we are not God. The prime minister is not God. She's not a robot. She can't wave a magic wand and everything is going to happen. It's you all probably do not understand this the severity of how bad the PNM has left this country, how bad and how difficult it is. But never once did you hear our prime minister come out and say, "Ban your belly, use a belt and tighten it." You never hear her come out and say, "Get provision and eat." She never disrespect the citizens like the former prime ministers would and other ministers would disrespect us, want to tell us what we should and shouldn't do. She wouldn't do that. She'll tell us her faith and her favorite thing. Put God in front and walk behind. Have faith. And she would tell us how much she loves us. And because she loves us, she's doing everything in her power to change the dynamic of poverty in this country, because we meet this country with a lot of poverty. People don't understand who are not in the position of poverty, they wouldn't understand. But it is what it is, and we are grateful. I am happy to be a part of this UNC government. I am happy to have worked, and I would continue to do so despite whatever may happen, because I know the policies is good for the man on the ground, while the PNM was putting policies for the hierarchy and the 1% and those who have much. They were putting things in place for them to get what? The rich to get richer and the poor getting poorer. But this is not what is happening. So people, be alert, listen, share this live, make sure that people hear what we are saying. People are, exposed to the truth that is taking place in our country. Closing remarks, Adasa and Indar.
Mm.
Well, again,
And there
it's
you can go.
certainly a pleasure. It's certainly a pleasure being in a conversation with you, two lovely ladies. We certainly put insights into and everything. And I think a lot was discussed here tonight. And there's certainly a lot of food for thought. And I believe everybody deep down inside, excuse me, putting aside your political allegiances, put God first and put your family. Sit down and think about ways in which you can manage your own affairs. We all are going through, many people are going through a very difficult situations. And I mean, you're talking about food on a table. You have some people who have sick ones that are dying with the various illnesses and so on, and these people have to find medicine. They have to sell almost everything in their house in order to provide the medical care that is needed. It's a difficult situation when you don't have answers. And again, as you said, Esther, a hungry man is an angry man. But at some point in time, one has to sit and be calm and think about ways to find ways in order to support your family. And I'm not talking about doing illegal things, because once you start going the illegal way, then there are consequences to that. But there is always a way. I mean, the old saying, "Oh, once there's a will, there's a way." And I believe that this government is poised to make things happen for the citizenry of this country. And in some quarters with these PNMites, you have people that you're damn if you do and you're damn if you don't. They're making demands that they themselves wouldn't be able to do. And when you do respond to it, it's still not good enough. So it's not an easy thing for to be in the driver's seat in government right now in certain high positions. It's not an easy thing, especially when you want and you go out there to try to see if you can make life better for everybody and your fellow citizens. I know there are a lot of good people out here, and they're trying very, very hard. And there's a few that has bad intentions, trying to create mischief, try to destabilize people in their mind against, for whatever reason. Let God come first, and as you say, we just walk behind, and hopefully we're going to find a way. There's nothing more powerful than prayer. There is nothing
Yeah.
more powerful than prayer. And if it is that you pray for something and you pray for something, it does not mean, it is a sin for you to pray and don't do any action. You have to be working towards something. And before I go to bed and I say my prayer, I know that I'm going to do something. I say I'm walking out the road and I must reach to the highway. God, pray that I reach there safely, pray that nothing happens, pray that there's no accident, and that I return home safe. That's what I'm talking about. So you pray towards something that you're working towards. Don't just pray and sit down, hey, I want to win the lotto. That's not good enough. That's a sin, right? I mean, the person recently that wouldn't really probably pray a lot harder than the rest of us. We don't know. It's a lot of money for one person to win. Lucky, but then again, we don't know what he was going through,
That's
right? We
right.
don't know that. And that person won with a quick pick. So what is for you is going to be for you, regardless of what is
Mm-hmm.
happening. But the thing about it is, say your prayers, ask God to give you the patience and to calm you, give you the mental stability to find a way to make it work for you and your family.
Indeed. Well said, Indar. Um, you said something really powerful there about getting up and doing something, which is so important. Um, and while we do depend on the government, for the government to do what they are supposed to do, because I honestly, genuinely believe if the government does what it's supposed to do, taking care of the needs of the people, then everything else would work out. But while you're doing that, you have a responsibility as a citizen of this country. You are also a citizen too, to do all that you can to make this country a place that we can all be proud of, that is livable. Somebody recently has been highlighting how clean Curep has been, right? Um, and it is really just the people in Curep, mostly the Venezuelans, to be very honest, because this is how they are, that have been cleaning up the drains, cleaning the streets, and it is in pristine condition. And then there was some guys who, the taxi drivers on the bus by the bus route there, who were complaining about the trash that is in the drain. And a guy was saying, look, yes, we want the government to take care of all these things, but he said, have enough of us here, enough manpower for us to take care of that little bit of trash in the drain, right? That was causing a little bit of flooding and whatnot. So I feel like there is a certain amount of responsibility and ownership that we need to get back in terms of how we treat with the country, right? I used to complain about my building not being maintained by the landlord, and I realized they are busy people, they are old people, they have a lot going on. So when it have stuff to do, like cleaning the corridors and the steps and all the areas where everybody traverse, I just take my broom and my mop on a Saturday morning and I just clean it, because I just say I live here too. This is my home. So we need to take that amount of stewardship again. And yeah, I honestly do believe that we are on the cusp of something great. We are on the cusp of a energy explosion, and that has to do with planning and performance and competence, and a prime minister who is leading with heart. And there is no amount of salsa dancing that the PNM did, Keith and Stewart did with Maduro, that could have ever brought this to to light. As Indar say, what is for you is for you. It was not supposed to happen under the PNM. It's going to happen under the UNC, and I really really believe that she has what it takes to bring this country back to some of its former glory. To some of its former glory. So I am excited as ahead, and that's it for me there.
Well, yes, Trinidad and Tobago tonight wasn't about hate. It wasn't about saying UNC people deserve to eat and PNM people don't. Absolutely not. Everybody must eat. Everybody's children or child matters. Everybody deserves opportunities. But you know what? Political leadership have to listen. We have to listen to the people on the ground. We have to get an understanding as to what is happening. If you agree that we can support the government and still speak for struggling citizens, share this program. If you believe corruption must be removed without abandoning genuine workers, share it. If you believe government contract must be transparent and fairly awarded, share it as well. Things must be done decently and in order. And if you believe that no Trinidadian should be discriminated against because of race or political affiliation, share the life. share the program. And if you believe Trinidad and Tobago need honest conversation rather than propaganda that we get all the time from the opposition mostly, share the program. This is Real Talk Corner, where we deal with the truth, because the truth may sometimes be uncomfortable, but the truth still has to be told. God bless our Prime Minister. Let us continue to pray for her, lift her up in prayer that she will continue to do what is right for our nation. God bless the government. God bless even the opposition, because even though Judas was the one that was designed and ordained to bring Christ down, to crucify Christ, God still love him and he still bless him. So God bless every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And may Almighty God continue to bless the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago as we go into celebrate our independence on weekend. I pray that you all have a good Independence Day celebration. And for those of you who are staying at home, reflect on the years that has gone by and things that could be done differently, and make your comments from time to time. But let us continue to have love in our hearts. Let us continue to be our brothers' keepers. Let us stop trying to diminish and bring down people. Let us try to lift up one another. Yes, we're going to talk about the ills of the opposition and so on, and people who are doing stupid things, but we still have to love one another. We have to look out for each other. Don't be fooled by stupid propaganda. And I pray that, we all would see the light at the end of the tunnel soon and very soon. May the good Lord bless us. Good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you again on Real Talk Sunday morning when we have the gospel according to the truth according to the gospel of Jesus Christ from 7 a.m. in the morning. You all can tune in, and then we're back next week, Tuesday, God's willing. Have a wonderful night and a great week ahead. Love you. Goodbye. Hadassah, how are you?